thing happened though with the. I thought I closed it out, but I didn't. I just started hearing people talk. And it's like super weird. It's happened 3 or 4 times.
That can be scary. You know what I mean? Like you could be somewhere and like some shit's going down. Doesn't matter what it is, but you don't want to be in the app, and then you hear somebody talking. You're like, oh. So I'm gonna. By the way, are you a content creator for the app? If you want to be, get you some paper, pen, whatever, when you get a second, and I can tell you who to hit up if you're interested in that. Because if you're gonna be on here, maybe get paid, and they don't require a ton of like hours. It's very reasonable. There's a cap on how many they will pay you for. But while you're getting your feet wet in this whole like podcasting concept, trying to come up with the money to get the equipment, it couldn't hurt. It couldn't hurt. I would apply, and if they say no, apply again. Even if you are not selected for whatever reason, you found the app in the beginning. The advantage of that is if you stick with it as people are coming to the app, looking who's on here, seeing what it's about, you just, because of the way algorithms work, you could potentially pop off with this app if this app is very successful due to the fact that you're on it originally. You're not getting lost in the matrix of like a million bazillion TikToks. Like if someone wants to jump on TikTok right now, they're late. I personally hate TikTok. I can't stand it. I cannot stand it. But do you know what I mean? Like you're not actually, what was I going to say? How do I say this? I'm losing my train of thought. I'm so distracted. I'm just going to let you talk. Tell us about you, the podcast.
Oh, I mean, it's not much, too. I mean, we talk a lot. And, like, we have I was trying to start a YouTube channel over the summer. And we've been wanting to do it for a long time. And I don't know, that's not the only thing we want to do. Like, since high school, me and another friend, we started, like, a couple businesses.
You need to formally write your complaint to tmbmodel@gmail.com. I do not handle those matters on live streams. Thank you.
And you said you are content
Peace, love, and comfort. What up? Yes, I do both media and the podcasting concept is, it's been a while since I've done anything like this. I had like a terrible time slot radio show a long time ago. I have like done more like guest feature type stuff on podcasts. I haven't had a consistent podcast like this kind of thing, what I'm trying to do. So I'm kind of new to this media format, which I kind of like. I feel like you can just be chilling in sweatpants doing it, which is kind of great. Any of my video stuff, I feel like, okay, I got to get done up. I mean, I'm a girl, right? People hate on you. You're never good enough. You're never thin enough. You're too fat. You're too whatever. Like girls are so judged on the way they look, and you got to like keep up appearances. So it's kind of nice when I'm on just stereo to like not have to worry about that. Because it's incredibly time consuming. Like there is a huge, just ungodly mess of makeup on my bed that I did not, because like I'll be live streaming this because I'm trying to promote the app. I should have mentioned that. If you do not want to be on it, let me know now. I should have mentioned that from the beginning. I'm sorry. Are you okay with it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And I definitely want you to plug your stuff too. But so since I'm doing both right now to promote the app because it just launched, there's a huge mess of makeup all over my freaking bed. It's not cleaned up yet. You know why? Because I'm like, I have to start filming right now. So then when I'm done filming, like I can't just go straight to bed unless I want to sleep in all this fucking makeup. It sucks. If I had more area, I would say like, I don't know, I'm working with a smaller space than I would like to work with. That's probably a huge part of it. But sometimes girls, like when we're getting ready, like I see all these memes about girls tripping off toilet seats. I don't personally. And then the makeup mess that girls make. We make that mess because we're usually looking for a specific makeup item, and we're spreading all our stuff. Where is that? Oh, we can't find it. Crap. We got to see. Okay, what else can work? What can substitute that? That's how that makeup mess happens. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me like how you applied for it, or give me some information about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a pen and paper?
I do.
Okay, cool. So you can try. I'm going to give you 3 ways to contact them. I'm going to recommend all 3 only because they're super overwhelmed right now and like, ugh. So I'm gonna direct you to the automated system, and then I'm gonna direct you to people who are dealing with the talent directly. And I hope they don't hate me for this. I've gotten no emails like saying Tracy stop. So I think it's probably okay. And they have actually told me, hey, if there's anyone you want to recommend to us, let me know. So I was kind of given the green light that way. If you try just stereo.com, which is incredible that that domain was actually available, it's smart if you probably want to have consistency with branding and name on the app and website. But amazingly, stereo, just like it's spelled .com, was available and is associated with this app. You can apply that way. That is going to be the automated message way. When you're okay, well, I'll let you write that. Sorry. And then when you're ready, I'll give you two individuals. Okay, then there's Cassie, Cassy at stereo.com. That's Cassie. And then McKenna, McKenna at stereo.com. Get her or hit her up and, like, just let her know a concept you have. Definitely put your socials. It doesn't really matter what you look like. It's like the vibe. So if you have anything, even if you don't have a podcast, just something that shows that you're entertaining, that's what I'm going to recommend. I wouldn't recommend applying and not having a whole lot to show, because that's kind of hard. If you don't have media yet, but you happen to have like interesting talks on here, go through your conversations. Your best one, you can submit and copy that link. You can include that in your email if you don't have any existing content that you want to show. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Now, okay, do you want to, because I am live, do you want to plug any of your socials? Do you want to talk about the concept for your podcast and anything else like that? Or
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to mute myself.
I'll plug the social first, and with just Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Destin S. Jones. But I'll spell it DES, the number 10 S Jones. It's DES, number 10 S Jones. Majority of the other socials you can find me at DSJ Jones 01. That'll be that's right. Gmail, Twitter, any other socials like that. And concepts for podcasts, sports. We can do political things, like our horizon, we want to cover so broad. Music, we can talk about anything. Eventually we want to get to the point where we're having guests as we keep growing, local, anything. So just want to build in, and then also want to get into like entertaining people through another channel too. So yeah, that's basically it.
Do you have that other channel that you want to plug, or is it something you plan on creating?
You catch all that?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I muted myself so you could talk. Okay, I was saying you were mentioning creating another channel. Has that channel been created yet, or are you still thinking of like the name or concept for that? Just go ahead and like plug anything, honestly, that you want to.
I have one channel already created.
Okay.
And it's called Destin, DES, the number 10.
Okay.
I started that like months ago. And then my friend's channel, I'll plug this in at Jalen L. Pearson.
All right.
And, yeah.
And
Spell them the way they spell them.
definitely, if you have like a description, that would be cool. If you don't know how to describe it, that's all right. Anything else you want to share? Have you heard the new Lil Wayne album? I haven't heard that shit yet. I've been trying to find the time to play it. I heard a few seconds of the Kobe Bryant song. I think it kind of lived up to what my expectations would be. Right before I played it, I'm like, this shit better be triumphant as fuck. Like, So yeah.
So I haven't heard it. My friend, he's a massive like Lil Wayne fan.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't listened to it. Did it drop last Friday? Like this Friday?
Yeah, like literally a few days ago, and I've been just like, oh my god, I need to check that.
We might review it on my channel.
Nice. Okay, that's what I was thinking of doing too. I gotta keep I have like time slots with each person on here. Add me if you're still around later. I really want to actually play that album and have a discussion with somebody. If you haven't heard it yet and you're down for that, maybe we could do that sometime today. Let me know. I'll give you I think maybe my Snap is the easiest way. Are you on? Well, first of all, Oh, okay. Well, my regular Snap doesn't matter. Are you on Snapchat, or I can give you my Insta?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. It's TracyMariebRie, and most of my social media is actually under that. So.
Right. So Tracy
Uh huh.
Marie.
Yep.
And what's after that?
Briare.
Cool.
All right, so hit me up. Maybe in like even like an hour or two. Like I just gotta like keep talking to people for X amount of time because this is my actual scheduled time block or whatever, and it's I'm supposed to do it. But after the fact, after that obligation's been fulfilled, it's pretty much whatever I feel like doing, and I think that might be kind of fun to chop it up on that album. So yeah, for sure. DS Jones, one, thank you so much for talking with me, and hopefully we can talk about that Wayne album a little later. Thank you, hun. Ugh. This has been so hard, guys. I'm so tired of talking nonstop. Like that guy was hella cool. I'm supposed to talk to people like 5 or 10 minutes at a time, um, and I'm really, it's difficult. Charlie, we talked for a minute, right? Oh, Charlie don't like me. She's swoop. No, just kidding. You don't know. Sometimes things do not work that way. Like, all right, you said something very, very naughty last time. I am not. I'm on the nice list this year. There's a feedback issue. Okay, so that little kid was funny as hell, but he had a very inappropriate joke, and I had to just X out of that lesson. Hey, Charlie, what's up?
Nothing much. You know, I was like swipe, like I didn't mean to do that.
Oh, I'm teasing, girl. I'm playing. That happens constantly on this app, and some people get so bent on it. Literally, it is so easy to accidentally do anything. I really hope they fix those features. I would like to be able to preview the audio messages, number one. I don't know if you close out the app before and it's like still on, and you're like, oh my god, how long has this been on? Yeah, that's a little weird. But yeah, there have been like really, really weird issues. It's kind of getting worse, to be honest. And I'm wondering if it has anything to do with more users joining. Is that even a like? Does that mess up apps? I know that sounds like a like silly question, but I'm not like a programmer. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like I know this thing, right? Like, it's kind of like connected to my phone in some type of way.
What up, peace and
So
love?
the way that it is,
We're
it's kinda
promoting the
like
app. I'll
I
reach
can't
out the
like
best I
make
can.
any calls because in a way it's like I'm having like a conversation on the phone.
Yes.
Really, I'm having a conversation through the app. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's okay. That's an interesting way of putting it. So because it's running like a phone call type service through Wi-Fi, that could be why it's glitchy. I think the built-in equalizers on everyone's voice are more or less like okay. There was this weird clipping I was hearing the first day and second day. It's so far kind of dialed back a little bit. But it was really sketch. Like my mic was being turned on and off. I was like, what? Like it really rubbed, like like you're being like bugged or something. And I'm not saying the app is doing anything bad. It just really freaked me out. So I'm gonna email them about a couple just things I'm concerned with because like I plan on being here a lot, but like there are conversations I may need to have in person, not on the app. And I'm just like I know I'm just gonna have something happen that's I don't know. Like sometimes you're just not trying to broadcast certain conversations to the world, and there've been just plenty of times. I don't know. I got to go through my conversations, and be like, oh, delete that one. That one's got to go. Oh man, I've been talking to so many people. You're gonna have to remind me of like what we talked about, Charlie. Please forgive me. I do recognize you, like your emoji, but just help me out, girl. What were we talking about last time?
We were kind of just like talking about like random stuff, like like
Thank you,
what
Gorilla.
goals we want to
Hey,
meet
farmer.
in the next like 5 years and all that. And then like this other woman like came on and like started talking about like how to make money off of this thing and whatnot. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Was that was Auntie Social hyping us up? Is that what that was? If I'm remembering properly.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember now. Okay, all right, nice. So you're still here. I take it you're liking it, or you're getting like some kind of entertainment out of it.
I mean, like, I'm like listening as well as
Yeah.
talking with people. So like, I'm actually very interested in like the comments and whatnot. Like, I'm very interested in like the conversations that I'm just hearing about.
Wait,
And I
one
want to
second. Were
like
you
direct.
the media you communications major?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yes, I remember now. It took me, yes, and then maybe you'll do paralegal or law eventually. Okay, thank you. Okay, I knew I when I have conversations with people, I remember them. It's just I've had so many. I just had to think about it. There it is. Now I know who I'm talking to for sure. And thank you for not being
Yeah.
offended in any type of way. Yeah, some of the conversations have been kind of actually like very enlightening and interesting. And then some are just okay, what did I walk into? But it's crazy. Like you're getting to hear people's conversations, which you normally don't so much. Like that's kind of interesting. And then we have the barrier between us protecting us. What's like the wildest
Yeah.
thing you've heard on here so far?
Honestly, before we get like to like the wildest thing, because like actually I haven't like really like listened to like any like wild conversations, nor like have I like been involved like nor have I
Okay.
been involved in like something wild. But like
Or
what I'm like
profound, moving thing, or whatever you're thinking. Yeah.
yeah, what I like want to discuss though, right, is that before you, right, like before like I clicked on you, there was this person that I was speaking to, right, and he was a 13-year-old boy, you know, and the thing is that there are some like conversations that are on here where like it talks about like sex or like kind of like something dark that like 13-year-olds
Yeah.
aren't gonna be listening to.
I think we
So
did touch on this a little bit. I really want them to implement like an age verification or an ability to identify that your stream is mature, adult natured. Because you're right. I've heard a ton of kids on here too. There is one 12 or 13-year-old that's got crazy jokes, highly inappropriate. They were kind of funny until they made like a school violence type joke, and then I just said that this is not okay. Like I'm not gonna give that any attention. But yeah, I agree. Kids' safety needs to be protected, and when new things like this develop, like there's no real moderation going on, and that's kind of what's scary about having a kid right now in the digital age, having access to this stuff because you can put all the parental controls in the world, but you know what I mean. Like these kind of things can slip through the cracks. So I really do hope that they find a solution to that sooner than later, because yeah, I just I'm not into kids being exposed to weird stuff and encouraging that. They need to stay kids. It's quarantine's bad enough. They've already been robbed of a year, as we all have. What do you think the solution is for something like that? For this app or just in general? Like, how do we protect kids? Um, you know?
Well, I mean, like, that's the reason why I think that we should like come up with like a category of like yeah, like let's come up with like categories so that way like certain topics they cannot
Hey,
touch
Robbie, I'm down.
or like just like block them out from like
I
certain topics.
may be crying this afternoon. It's very possible. Yeah, even like a kid's version might be kind of cool. Like, I think that became YouTube's solution. Now they do
Yeah.
still have you have like okay, if you upload a video or a stream, whatever, they have more detailed parameters and descriptive stuff that is non-negotiable. You actually have to take the time and verify. Now, again, that can be slipped through the cracks too because everything's done through algorithm, and it's not actually there's not a human or something like that watching and verifying that. They're just taking your word for it until it gets flagged. Problematic, I agree. And I think that's why they're like, okay, so then let's do YouTube Kids. But then YouTube Kids is getting tainted. It's okay. But what's cool about the internet, I want to say, is like the whole free form. FCC can be constricting and whatever, but it was put in place basically, I think, to protect the innocence of children. There's like a whole list of FCC violations. Well, you're in communications,
Yeah.
and there's a good reason for that. Do you happen to know the history on that? If that was for sure more so for children versus politeness and modesty type stuff. I think it was for children, if I'm not mistaken, like from a legal standpoint.
Well, like, no, I mean, I agree with you. It was like for children. So yeah.
Definitely. I remember when they'd make a big deal if a show like had one episode or like a singular episode where there might be a S bomb or an F bomb. It'd be like, oh my gosh, like that was so shocking. Um, Instead of like the vulgar language, like, and I mean just like your typical curse words, which not so great for kids to hear. I'm more concerned with like the a very very explicit like vulgar. I think the vulgarness, in my opinion, is worse than like violence type stuff. I don't think violence is great either, but I think how like they like to blame video games or films and franchises on creating violent people. I feel that you cannot create that violence in a person if there wasn't a already real violence going on at home. I think what you're doing is putting it in their mind subliminally through television and then literally conditioning them through actual acts of violence within their home. Do you think TV shows or video games make people violent, or do you think they worsen already like people around? I worded that absolutely terribly, but do you understand what I'm trying to like ask? And do you know what I mean?
No, I know what you're trying to say.
Okay.
Statistically, like they say that um most video game players are not, like even though they'll play violent video games, they will not go out to enact any violence. You know.
Right.
So when it comes to like video games, so like when it comes to people say like blaming like television shows or video games, like they kind of just like really are looking for like a lazy issue to like ignore the problems that are at home or in the community. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to point an ignorant finger, just making assumptions. And I think we're exactly on the same page there with, yeah, like it's not great for kids to see violence in television, films, and video games, but it's even worse if they're actually experiencing it on a real level in real life, whether it's their neighborhoods or inside their actual household. I think that is what's going to tell a kid that's normal. This is how life is, and this is how you establish dominance or get your way, or this is how you will behave or you will fear me. I think there's like a lot of different motivations behind violence, but more often than not, in my opinion, it tends to be I think more like control, dynamic power trip issues versus kill or be killed. I'm not saying kill or be killed is not an actual thing, but I feel like between most parents and small children, it's not kill or be killed. It's like another whole like okay, I cannot find a way to discipline you that's effective fast enough, so I'm just going to do this and shut it down real quick. They've done studies now because people have been beating children for years and years. But Harvard actually did a pretty profound study on physical punishment. And what they did was they just had volunteers mic'd up, I guess with some type of immunity, like with DCFS or anything. And what they found was that the kids that were getting hit over very minor, trivial offenses. And they kind of came to the conclusion that a lot of the times it was more the parent being frustrated with other issues, because remember, mics were on the whole time, than actual like horrific offenses that the children needed to be corrected immediately. So what they found was it made the kids more sneaky and less like they were more sneaky and they didn't trust their parents. And the ones that continued the studies later on, because some only signed up for like the initial portion, but some continued doing the study for like 20 years or whatever. Some of those kids that were still remaining in the study grew up to abuse wives, girlfriends, etc. So I think like how your caretakers love you or mistreat you or don't love you or abandon you or ignore you. I think that's what puts in your mind what's okay to do and how to act more than any movie, video game, or TV show could. That's my opinion. I'm talking out my ass. What do you think?
No, I mean like personally for me, right? Like growing up, like no, I'm not gonna say like I was like fully abused. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying that like my parents neglected
My
me or
bad.
anything
Peace
like
and
that.
love, comfort. Straight
But
up. Shit's been overwhelming. I do have to go through content to update. I have not forgotten.
Met with was also met with like springs and beatings. So one thing that I remember, right, and yeah, like one thing that I remember like from childhood growing up, right, was that I was bad at math. I'm still bad at math, and my mom, right, like she was trying to go over this problem with me, right, and I wasn't getting it, and she was so frustrated that she actually like slapped me, like she actually slapped my hand, right, and I don't mean like in a hat type of way,
like really hard, like
like
oh.
she slammed it down on the table, you know. So and like I was like crying and all that too, you know.
Oh.
And a lot of people was like you know, growing up with like that type of discipline too, like we think it's like,
Also peace and love when that happens. What I tend to do is just give people extend their memberships to make it up to them. If the photos for whatever reason are not up to par, I'm not going to give you trash material.
One of my not my friend, he wasn't my friend, he was actually a bully, but he like used to like talk about like he's like pro spanking and all that. But the thing is that like he was one of those kids that said like, oh, you know, I turned out just fine.
Maybe not though.
Like aggravated assault charges against him.
Right. So yeah, like I've heard that same exact expression from my own dad even, or he said things more along the lines of, "Oh, I respected him. I'm well behaved." Well, although my dad is not the type to put hands on women or children, he yells. So he did. So since he was, this is my take on this psychologically. So he was in fear as a child, being punished for who knows what or whatever. And when you're getting hit, I think it doesn't feel good, right? Like I feel like most kids are 100% not into that. It teaches you to fight back, and you're smaller than your parent usually. Well, it's different, I guess, when you're older, but we're talking about like when you're really little, what's kind of fundamentally etched in your brain. You may like fight back, and your only option is going to be to scream until in some cases you learn if you don't stop screaming you're going to get beat worse, which unfortunately is even the case for some people. So I feel like how you're saying your friend, or I'm not sure if it was your friend exactly, but the person you're referring to, how they said they turned out fine and then they have aggravated assault charges like you were saying, and you're like they really maybe didn't. I think when you're punished for ways in a harsh way and you don't understand why you did something wrong and or what you did wrong and why that was wrong, I feel that you can have a hard time processing your emotions and your own anger. And like I'll even see like my dad misdirecting his anger. He'll be angry at a situation and take it out on the wrong people, completely ignoring the chain of command over who has say over whatever his grievance is, you know?
No, I was thinking with me growing up because like I ended up actually like what's it called? Not like realizing like, you know, how it affected me until like my early 20s, you know? So in a way that I'm still like, you know, learning how to like deal with my emotions and whatnot, and how to like
Now we're actually talking about childhood
just,
emotional
like, learn how to deal
neglect.
with them in like a better way, in a peaceful way, instead of like, you know, getting angry over like the most
Right.
frivolous thing.
I think we were talking about people reacting in some type of ways to something because it's triggering their ego or labels that they find offensive and taking things personally that are not about them at all. There's something called childhood emotional neglect. It's very subtle. Most people didn't even know there was a name for such things. But if you grew up feeling ignored, dismissed, just not really validated by one or both parents, like you're literally going to have the kind of things that like I'm struggling with, you're struggling with. And that's. And I'm not saying I cannot diagnose you. Like I actually have no authority to diagnose people. I just happen to get really into psychology because I found myself around people that were a certain kind of way. I found patterns in my life that I didn't like, and I wanted to get to the root of. And I guess, especially with media and entertainment, I've worked, and I'm sure you can understand this. People like creative people tend to be very damaged, broken, and just like suffering, and they use their art or expression to relieve that or make something beautiful or meaningful of it. But that doesn't always mean that it doesn't get better or worse in the process of that, if that makes sense.
No, that makes absolute sense because like you always like see like a painting like artwork or like you know like
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, look into something, SEND, childhood emotional neglect, because there were a couple things you mentioned to me that may hit home, like when you dig into that more. And I'm telling you, when you find names and validation to things that were not your fault or that you were not responsible for as a child, it can kind of help you heal some of those childhood wounds and just kind of become a wholer person. With emotional neglect, you're basically taught to not trouble people with your needs. You can become a people pleaser. You can find yourself getting walked over too often. You may find that if someone lays a boundary, you dare not cross because you know what wrath that it brings. But as far as your own boundaries, like if you can't say no to something, or if you feel guilty saying no, and if people are able to work that on you, whether they act like they know what they're doing or not, if you don't want to do something for any reason, if you cannot say whatever without trying to explain yourself or something, that is also a huge sign of like childhood emotional neglect. Because when when with that going on, basically your needs are not identified emotionally, your feelings are not identified emotionally, and therefore usually choices kind of go hand in hand with that. So and a lot of times, like if kids aren't happy with something, you don't always have a reason why, and you don't for every single thing. Sometimes it's just not even necessary. But some things I think it is important to explain to kids so they understand things. And from my experience, when kids tend to understand the why to the no, they tend to be more accepting and like less resistant to trying to go after something they're not allowed to have or do. They just want to know why. Like that's one of the most annoying questions and most frequent questions of kids everywhere from like 2 to 7. But it's because they haven't lived as much as we have, and they're like, "What's up with this?" Like, you can't like they haven't experienced it. They haven't known to not do something. You know what I mean? Like they start fresh. They literally know nothing, and that's why like toddlers like they'll be like, "Oh, they're so difficult." Well, they don't know that they can't do that. They've never been hurt badly, so they don't have in their mind, "Oh, I shouldn't run into this sharp corner." They're protected from that. And I guess as parents, I would hope your job is to raise a decent, happy person who makes good choices, if that makes sense.
No, that makes absolute sense, you know, because like when it comes to like spanking and whatnot, like it does not really teach kids like right from wrong. It just teaches you like not to do it again in front of me, you know?
Right. Yeah. Be more sneaky. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you don't.
And
And
then with that,
yeah.
like as like a person, right? Like, you know, like back to like what I said about math, you know? Like when my mom hit me, it didn't say like, oh, life doesn't hurt me until like this math wins, you know what I'm saying? Like I still like suffer from like math problems, you know?
That probably maybe even like made you more insecure about it
Yeah.
because not knowing something meant punishment. That conditioned a punishment concept in your mind. So maybe you could have asked the teacher for extra help during recess. I don't know what grade this was. I'm just saying, for example. But you felt that it was the worst thing in the world that you were bad or inept because you couldn't just grasp it. A lot of kids struggle with things like reading or types of math, like for many reasons. And like, I wish it was noticed more or earlier because I feel like you can. I feel like a lot of it's repetition, and if you're not so intimidated by it, you can take the time, do the repetition, and then know the patterns, and then you got it. Um, like I'm not that great at math, but a lot of it is patterns. And so if you're not, so, you know what I mean? When you're intimidated by something, you'll hate it. You'll not want to do it. You'll have no esteem with it, and that makes you like less likely. It just keeps going over your head because maybe at the basic level, you were struggling then too. And instead of identifying, hey, let's do a fun flashcard game with you, for example, on like maybe let's say basic math, like. Did you ever have to do those time tests where there were like 100 basic addition and subtraction kind of things?
Yeah.
Okay, if you struggle, and there's nothing wrong with this, but say you struggled with those like badly, um, your teacher should have said, "Hey, let's do it like some kind of flashcard stuff," or recommended that to your parents. Now, whether they would have done that or not, that's an entirely different story. But if you get intimidated at that basic level of math, it's going to be very hard to advance beyond that. So, I just wish your mom would have said, "Hey, let's do some flashcards. Make sure you got that down, and the next time you had that sheet of 100 questions." You race through it like everyone else. But when you're intimidated and when you have like low self-esteem about that particular subject, you're not going to test well because you have in your head that you're bad and you're going to be punished. You can't learn like that. Yeah. Now, again, I don't know the dynamics. I'm not like in any way. Forgive me if that was taken like as a diss on your mother's parenting. That was not what I was trying to do. What I guess. Okay.
It's just that like it's more like culturally, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because like she's just from like a culture and time, right? Where like you know that type of stuff. Like what's the like way to set your kids straight, you know?
Right.
But
Right. So
yeah.
I had tutors as well. But the thing is, when I was struggling with math at that fundamental level, like I just described to you, I described that in that great detail because I'm also talking about myself to a degree. People didn't identify it then. And so as the math got more advanced, I was struggling even more because that basic stuff I would still maybe have to count on my fingers and toes. It wasn't something I had memorized. Excuse me, I did not mean to burp. Blame it on the bang. I'm so sorry. That was rude. Okay, so like my mom worked and had to hold down the house. I'm sure your mom probably had to do that, possibly. My mom didn't necessarily have like time to like play the flashcard game. Me suggesting that now is like that's something I would do now as a parent. We take what our parents did and maybe we revise. We keep what we liked, or we revise what we wish we would have had that could have been done better. And some people are like, yo, I was punished in this way, so you're going to be punished in this way because it's some weird rite of passage that I literally do not understand. But it's very unfortunate that instead of finding out what kids struggle with and finding ways to make it fun and get past those initial hurdles, I think it just gets worse. And like the schools, they just want you to pass because they want to get money. They want to get more funding. You're just trained to basically pass their tests, especially the standardized testing that they're doing. Like that's how the schools and the school districts get money. Oh, we actually have a comment. Let's check that out. Okay, so I do have horns in my avatar, so I guess I deserve that. That's fine. I'm not quite the devil incarnate. That is quite the honor. Thank you for that. No, I haven't quite made it, or it's not evolved. It's the opposite of that. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's cool. It's also almost Halloween, so maybe I just got my costume ready early because I'm hoping everyone will keep quarantining in place and I can actually go trick or treating this year.
Sorry for saying that.
Oh,
I'm just kidding. Never mean to say.
Oh, that is so cute, Elijah, honey. Don't worry about it. I'm not offended. I was joking that I'm not worthy of the honor of the great dark leader. Just kidding. No, it's okay, honey. It did not hurt my feelings, and I literally do have devil horns on my my avatar, so it's okay. It's okay. I love how polite and apologetic he was immediately. That was great. Your mother did a good job raising you. Shout out to empathy. I love that we're getting more empathetic boys now. That like emotional intelligence is becoming a thing. Like you know what I mean? Like instantly that's been so needed.
Yeah. No, because like when it came to like I'm not really sure about you, but like boys like in our time, right? Like they're just like so I don't want to say violent, but like no, like like they're kind of like like harsh.
That is disgusting that you would even suggest that.
They kind of like got away with
Saying hello to a child is not grooming a child. Get the fuck off my stream.
So
you're disgusting.
Now you just like see like men and boys actually like getting like getting the consequences of their actions.
Right,
and, like,
right.
Finally like knowing like that it's actually okay to cry and okay
yes.
to be like emotional.
Yes. And that your emotions do matter and you don't have to grin and bear it and like have this like burden of anger because you have things that are unexpressed and repressed. I have a couple of theories on how like the male mentality of emotions and emotional awareness or intelligence has evolved. I do think like World War II is a factor. For example, think of how many people were drafted and how their process in preparing a soldier to be, I think it's trained to go, as they say, in any of the forces. they have a process of usually breaking people down mentally. And in that process, you have to, I guess, freeze your emotions because when you're emotional, it's harder for the brain to act tactically and think and solve problems if your emotions are running. Because your emotions at times can be very profound, whether they're happy, sad, upset. They can take away from the task at hand. So by pressing them down and just focusing on drills, operations, almost like ingrating it in your head, like so you could basically do it on autopilot. I kind of think when those soldiers came home to raise their families, that was the kind of parental figure, male figure that they were getting. Do I believe that there are emotionally intelligent military people? Of course. In fact, I take care of one, and he was like a badass paratrooper, ex sniper. Like I can't even believe that he's taken people out. I honestly don't want to think about it. I don't ask him to discuss it, but he's one of the sweetest, most gentle people I've ever known. It's kind of funny. So that's an anomaly right there. But some people, I feel like maybe their home life was just meh to begin with, and then they got broken down again as young men because like what was the age range in which they drafted? Like
I think
15.
it was like I think it might have been 16 actually.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So that age, which think of the maturity of a 16-year-old boy on average. You know.
Yeah.
What would you? I mean, would you? I feel like the quintessential F boy is like a 16-year-old boy's mentality, and I'm not saying all 16-year-old boys are F boys at all, because that's definitely not true. But like you notice girl, like I guess I can't articulate what's kind of going on in my head there. My whole point of that World War II references, they had to break these men down. We don't really know. Oh, and then their family grew up with the Depression. So yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
So they literally did not have the time or luxury to acknowledge feelings. I think that's actually has a lot to do with it. To be honest, I think that might be it. And if you know what I mean, like if so many people are in the like, it just becomes normal to grin and bear it. I guess with the depression, everybody was feeling it. So how dare you act like your sorrows are more, you know how people will get in like pissing competitions over who had like the saddest like you know what I mean? Has anyone ever tried to compete with you in like sob stories? Like you're trying to say something that's hard for you, and then someone like all of a sudden comes at you with something that's like slightly worse, and you're like, wow, like that kind of stuff. I hate that. And sometimes
I mean,
people
like,
mean
that's
well.
legit, like,
They mean well, but it's like super dismissive. It's like, okay, your pain isn't valid because something worse happened to me, and I'm fine, so get over it. Ugh. Validation is everything.
I actually like experienced that with men. You know what I'm trying to say?
Hmm.
Like I'm not really saying that like all men are like this, but
Of course not.
like, how when you kind of like bring up like the topic of like your experience as a woman, or just like subjects like rape or child molestation or whatnot, right? Like the first thing that comes to mind, like the first thing that they say, right, is it happens to men too. You know,
Absolutely.
which is true, right? But the thing is, like, they don't bring it up, like, they don't bring it up, like, as like, hey, I feel for you. They just bring it up as it happens to us, like, just shut up.
And that's got to be even worse. That's got to be even worse because, like, it's almost like boys have to look out for their own, and girls, in some way, in some ways, some cultures, some girls are more protected and more cherished and viewed as more innocent, and less responsible for those kind of things happening. Whereas boys are supposed to just know and be tough, and it's just unrealistic. You cannot expect a they know it's going to destroy their families. They know, like, someone could go to jail. Um, okay, sure. Okay. Please elaborate. Oh, I said please elaborate on that. Right. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. It was dismissing and re-victimizing, I believe. Is kind of what that's what you're on about. I agree 100%. Because that instance, that case, that story is so like fucking almost never happens. And what is the proof that that was actually made up? What if the kids were so humiliated or punished that they just decided to take it back? We still don't know for a fact that the kids maliciously did that. Right. Right. Yeah.
Reputation, like that.
It's very rare to happen maliciously, but it does. But I agree with you. It is such a humiliating process. You have to be a certain type of individual to go that route to ruin someone's life. I'd say the percentage of women weaponizing that is a little bit higher than children making that stuff up, but it is so dismissive of the ones that go through it. Again, it is a humiliating process, repeating that story over and over, basically reliving it, having to be in a kind of way reviolated if there's some type of swabbing or kit done on you. And then the accused can just get a really good attorney, take a plea deal, and just get probation. That's what's really awful.
No, like I'm just saying, like I know that like in the college that I went to, right? Like there was this girl, and I'm not gonna like say her name or anything like that, but she was like she was raped, right?
That's horrible.
And yeah, and like the thing is that like she was actually kicked out of her sorority because of it. And
Seriously?
no, yes, it was like she was kicked out of her sorority because of that, right?
Disgusting.
And because of that, like what's it called? Oh yeah, like when she like tried to like like press charges against this boy, right? Like the people they kind of like the university itself botched the trial, and she ended up committing suicide because of that.
That is horrendous. That's disgusting. Ugh.
And the thing is that's funny, right? Is that like um the fraternity house that it happened to, which is Sigma Phi, right? Sigma Pi. Uh, they have yet to like release this prince's name, but like they were like one of the people who also kind of like slut shamed this girl too. Like after
Is this the same case where there was possibly a media file about it? And like, was this one involving revenge porn type of thing as well, or it doesn't matter because there's a similar case you're describing. I was just wondering if I was possibly thinking of the same one.
I mean, it happens,
No, I understand, and you don't have to disclose any of that information. That's really not so much the important point of the story. That's really, really sad. Like that. I don't know if you've ever seen Monica Lewinsky's TED Talk, but that shit had me like actually really, really crying. Like she went to hiding. Like people just don't think about like the profound effects of slut shaming and how. I can't even. Shame is like one of the most damaging emotions we can experience as humans, and it's one of the most lonely emotions, and most potentially detrimental is shame.
All right.
Yeah. What? It was the day we met, you and me, nothing less. Set the bar for hot sex, the best. Calling me all the time, telling me where it's at. Getting all hot and bothered, making me sweat. Coming so hard, my pussy dripping wet. But from what I recall, we drank so much. Too many hits, went all AWOL. Then it started to fall, fell on my ass and it started to crawl. Got up and walked it off. You know I knocked your socks off, you put it to the test. Didn't know where you been, so I started to stress. We can't get together. Can we be together? I love you better. Take me, cause it's now or never. If we can't get together, can we be together? I love you better. Take me, cause it's now or never. It was a fantasy, deep boy, you and me. But damn, I missed the booze and weed and the rendezvous. For the blueberry, yum, I always come so young. Got all dumb, shake my bum, you get a little some, have a lot of hot fun. And that's how it went down, on the couch, on the shower, on the bed, on the ground, knocking shit around. Throwing it back at you like a rebound. If we can't get together, can we be together? I love you better. Take me, cause it's now or never. If we can't get together, can we be together? I love you better. Take me, cause it's now or never. No, not I can't say goodbye. I said no. Give a fuck, I had another dude. It was cool, it was all you. Even if it was wrong, I was supposed to. The shit we did, the shit we hid, but I knew the truth when I looked at you, but you couldn't be there. I don't know if you cared, maybe you got scared, but I felt compared. You were the worst, best thing that ever happened to me. Damn, that's cheesy. TMB, all stuck on the BED. Notorious, like Biggie. Yeah, it was all a dream. What's wrong with make-believe? Ha, it ain't reality. And I got a dose of that 500 milligrams. A hip that's like a hard bitch on the ass. Mixed up chasing a man, not the cash, not the stacks. What's up with it? I gotta get back. If we can't get together, can we be together? I love you better. Take me, cause it's now or never. If we can't get together, can we be together? I love you better. Take me, cause it's now or never. Yeah. What? It was the day we met, you and me, nothing less. Set the bar for hot sex, the best. Calling me all the time, telling me where it's at. Getting all hot and bothered, making me sweat. Coming so hard, my pussy dripping wet. But From what I recall, we drank so much. Too many hits, went all AWOL. Then I started to fall on my ass and I started to crawl. Got up and walked it off. You know I knocked your socks off, you put it to the test. Didn't know where you been, so I started to stress. We can't get together. Can't we be together? I love you better. Take me, cause it's now or never. If we can't get together, can't we be together? I love you better. Take me, cause it's now or never. It was a fantasy, deep boy, you and me. But damn, I miss the booze and weed and the rendezvous. For the blueberry, yum, yum, I always come so young. Got a dum, shake my bum, you get a little some, have a lot of hot fun. And that's how it went down. On the couch, on the shower, on the bed, on the ground. Knocking shit around, throwing it back at you like a rebound. Throwing it back at you like a rebound. If we can't get together, can't we be together? I love you better. Take me, cause it's now or never. If we can't get together, can't we be together? I love you better. Take me, cause it's now or never. No, not I can't say goodbye. I said no, not I can't say goodbye. I didn't give a fuck, I had another dude. It was cool, it was all you. Even if it was wrong, I was supposed to. The shit we did, the shit we hid, but I knew the truth when I looked at you, but you couldn't be there. I don't know if you cared, maybe you got scared, but I felt compared. You were the one.
Other key details in maintaining whatever narrative that is that you would like for the story.
No, that is true. Like, what case this was? Not, it wasn't even a case, but like I remember like what in like a social media class that I had in college.
Mm-hmm.
It was talking about like how we should like look critically at like what we see on social media, and they took like this woman, right?
The hook on Now or Never, what?
A big woman, and
Did you find it?
they like took her picture, right? And she's like, sorry home of sensuals. This body is for straight men only.
I think I know the meme. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But the thing is that like when they actually contacted, like somebody actually contacted her, right? Somebody who knew her contacted her, and what's it called? Told her like what actually had happened, right? And the thing is that what was so heartbreaking about that was that like the picture where the post was originally from was actually her like finally accepting her body and whatnot.
Oh.
It was like a body positivity post, right? So
Was there actually an element of that, or was that completely fabricated? The homophobia, was that fabricated? Is that what you're about?
Fabricated.
That is horrible. Wow. And so I hate people. I literally hate people. I had no idea. And I'm even wondering, did I like have a eye roll comment at that? Yeah, I probably did. I don't think I like took the time to really like write something out like completely hateful back, but I do recall seeing that in my feed many times and literally just posting an eye roll.
Well, I mean, like the thing about social media is that like a lot of this stuff is like pretty much like a flash. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like like what happened like with like Tati Westbrook and James Charles. Where like she just like accused him of being this predator and.
What are you doing?
Yeah, like,
why are you having an alarm?
Predator and saying like, oh yeah, like this has nothing to do with like the sugar bear gummies when it had absolutely everything to do with the sugar bear gummies. And
what is that?
It almost ruined James Charles's career until like James Charles actually came back and said like, hey, this is actually true. Like the progression came out.
Is that happening outside? Yeah, it's pretty loud back here. Someone with the network platform say something. Wow.
at a rehab location, you know. So I'm just saying, like, it'd be cool, like, you know, just to promote that channel, like right now.
Hell yeah.
Because,
Okay,
like,
so
it's fucking fun.
absolutely soft underbelly, guys. I knew it as soon as you said it, and I'm like, I wonder if that's it for sure. Doesn't he also humanize people in like sex work and like get to the bottom of how a girl gets it? Am I mistaken? Does he also like do those kind of videos too? I know I've definitely seen the homeless ones, but okay, yeah, okay, so then it's definitely the same person. This person has interviews with people that society definitely or usually will deem as lower than, less than, not a good person. They'll just assume that that person wants to struggle, be abused, be bad. No, nobody grows up thinking, I want to be a drug addict or I want to sell my body. Like, it doesn't work that way. And the stories that tend to lead people to those places are often just almost unbearable to hear. Almost unbearable.
You know, like with me, right? Like, I almost found myself, like, going down that path, too, you know?
And hey, I don't judge. I don't judge. Some of the coolest chicks I know worked in the sex industry. Like one of the sweetest girls I know. I've always like checking in on her, but her mother turned her out when she was like 10. Her own mother. Her mother.
Yeah, that's like another thing that people don't really realize that happens in this country too. That like when it comes to like child sex trafficking, right? They typically think like, you know, it's the white man with like the men dressed in all black, right?
Right.
Running around the neighborhood. When really like you are more likely to like be trafficked.
I have
by your
no
uncle
idea, guys.
or,
I'm
like,
so
you know,
sorry.
Family member than you are actually
Yes.
gonna like be kidnapped on the street.
Yeah.
I'm
So
not trying to say,
no, you're 100%. Thank you for doing this because a child is more likely to trust a familiar face. We tell our children stranger danger. Not that you can't be swayed with an awesome video game console or promises of toys and this and that. Kids are very gullible and naive, and they can be led astray by strangers, but 9 out of 10 times it is someone that your child knows and trusts and that you have said, okay, this person's okay, and your child just assumes, okay, that's okay. And then they'll use a fear tactic, and your child is always going to love you or their parents. My girlfriend I was talking about, she still to this day is all she wants is love from her mother, and her mother always lets her down, in and out of rehab stuff. So, I mean, you could only expect like how my girlfriend could have turned out, and she's still the sweetest person ever. But like you were saying, it being people closer to the actual family, knowing the family of the victims, that's exactly what it is. They gain the trust of the parents, so they have access to the children. And then whatever they got to do to convince the kids to do stuff, it's very easy. If a kid has no idea for sure what's going on, like if they have no concept of it, that's even better. They make it into some kind of game and then tell the kid it'll be very bad, whether it's threats or like, you know, some kind of thing that is a threat to a child. Like, or, I don't know, like there's so many insidious ways, genius ways really, that kids can be groomed. And like there's like books online like giving advice on it. It's really gross. That's one thing I don't like about free speech. That's legal.
I never knew like books like that were even legal. That's kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
Like you think that would actually be like on the black market, but
no, that's like
on Amazon?
I'm not 100% sure about Amazon, but I do know of forum type situations. There was a big story of a woman like holding like her newborn, or not newborn, her daughter. Well, I feel like 3 months is still newborn, whatever. A 3-month-old daughter, not nude, just dressed in like onesies and you know whatever. And she saw pictures of her daughter on a site where people were just talking about their forum kind of thing, talking about their fantasies with her 3-month-old baby. And she was just beside herself. So it's like, it makes you think about posting any pictures or media of your child because, wow, like, you know, like, but then again, people literally get off to any and everything. There is such a wide spectrum of fetishes, even entirely non-sexual things, like somehow can be sexualized or worked into pornographic imagery. But yeah, that is really disturbing. And what's more disturbing is like people just pretend it's not happening. I don't know. I feel like something is trying to keep that whole industry quiet. And I think it's like much more fucked up and darker than like we even fathom. That's the only reason I can think of why it's punished. It's not punished as harshly as other crimes that are less violent and affect less people.
Yeah, like you mean like sex trafficking or like child molestation, like what?
Both. Well, because that kind of goes hand in hand, right? The trafficking is for money, and then the abuse itself. I feel like especially if the child knows there's money, like that's got to be even worse. But that's almost irrelevant because the abuse tends to be more or less like the same vein of horrific, unthinkable, disgusting activities, and like whether someone's busted for trafficking or accused of trafficking, or whether someone does something in their neighborhood, like they're not making money off of it, it's just personal. The statistics of their jail time or how much they're just released back into society with no real ability or accountability, like no, I don't even know, but like I saw a post by a sex therapist, and like I stopped talking to this person. I thought they were really cool, and they posted something about the likelihood of a offender not reoffending and how it needs to be looked at and them given second chances. And I'm just like, no, absolutely not. Like, and even worse, if they're trying to say it's an orientation that you can't change. Hello. Now they're trying to spread that narrative. Like, what the F is with that disgusting Cuties movie or whatever on Netflix? The is that? That shit.
Can I actually tell you? Okay, so let me tell you about like the
Some
Netflix
moon
one, right?
shows, man.
Right.
Moon shows is also
It's actually the Netflix, like how they're advertising this right now.
Oh, okay. Is it being taken out of context? Because I haven't seen it.
It's taking out. Well, I mean, like I don't think it's like gonna come out until like September 9th, though.
Okay.
But the director actually came out and actually said that like this is like the experience that she had growing up. You know, being a foreign black woman in France. Like she's from Sierra Leone or like I think Senegal or something like that.
I did see the
And then,
trailer.
like, yeah, and then like talking about like how we should like sexualize children or like sexualize like dance moves like that, like dance moves like twerk them because like twerking, right?
Right.
That's actually like an ancient dance that like dates like back to like pre-colonized Africa.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
And it's supposed to be like a dance that like celebrates the fertility goddess.
Yes.
So when it comes to like in a way like it wasn't sexualized. Like it's not sexualized in Africa. It's not a sexualized dance in Africa.
Yeah, it's more of a
Because
traditional.
because it came to America and all that, and hip hop videos, unfortunately.
Right.
Like people are now saying that this like is like a sexualized dance.
Yeah. So it's what you're. That's a really great point that you just brought up. The fact that it was a ritualistic, ceremonial, traditional celebration of fertility is now being sexualized. Just like okay, I mean, we don't have to get too deep into the breastfeeding in public thing. I think if your baby's hungry, feed the baby. If it bothers you because you only see boobs for your pleasure and not for feeding children, you're an idiot. Literally, boobs are for feeding children. I'm sorry. You are welcome to look the other way. I don't know, and it's more often like men than women that are offended by it. And it's like, do you know how hard it is to manage an upset baby? Because every time they cry, you're leaking. By the way, so they're squirming, they're upset. Even getting them on properly can be problematic. The whole situation is awkward and stressful to begin with. The mom is just trying to feed and take care of her child. She didn't give a shit. After you've had birth, like given birth, and you've been all in all your glory doing that, you're like, I don't give a shit. I just gotta take care of my kid, make sure they're okay. Because crying, like the younger they are, they cry because they have a need they need something, or they'll die if they don't notify you. Hey, I need this. It's also very stressful. So the mom's just trying to do her thing, and get through it on virtually no sleep. And I don't know. I just think that the people who are offended by the feeding, again, I was trying to relate that to the twerking comparison you made about it being a traditional fertility celebration versus a sexualized issue. I don't know if I made that connection at all, if that hit right or if that took it another direction.
No, they actually did it right, you know, because the thing is that, like, you know, when it comes to, like, you know, stuff like belly dancing and, what's it called, again, twerking, right?
Yes.
Like, in a way, I feel as though it should be held to the same regard as, like, ballet, you know what I'm saying? Like, people are not going to say, like, oh, yeah, ballet is, like, sexual, it's, like, you know, it's, like, for, like, people who are whores or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the moment that, like, a woman twerks, like, it's like all it's like sexual.
That's a really
like
good point, because think about what are women wearing in ballet? The leotards, the high cut leotards, the form fitting, shape revealing tights and stuff. You could easily argue that it is just a matter of taste and tradition that people will just ignore. How you could also argue, you know, throwing your legs here and there or splits. You know, you could like some. That is a really great argument. Thank you for that. Thank you for bringing that point. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's really frustrating because then that almost has like racial undertones to it as well. Because okay, one thing which again we could argue outfits, we could argue body movement, exposed, like not like actually exposed, but spread or you know what I mean. Like you could literally find comparison. You should actually do this. Make some kind of YouTube video on it where you compare ballet poses, which could be argued that way or not, and then the same thing, and then bring up the fact you did that it was a traditional dance of fertility and celebration, and people are just choosing to sexualize it, not knowing where it actually came from. Yeah, I guess maybe the sexualization of it is from like the lyrics going along with it, like that's what's giving it the bad rep, and then just people who are just they don't know that kind of dancing. They're like, oh, like uppity type people. But I really do think it's like you said, it's about it's completely ignorance, and I think it's just I think it's the explicit lyrics more or less that are getting it twisted. That sometimes the twerking's going along to. I think twerking's great. I am a huge fan. And I once met this girl. She was so wild, and she was telling me, "Bitch, I twerk because it's my meditation." And I was like, "Okay." Like and now that you're telling me the history on that, I'm like, that makes sense. I get it now. So thank you for enlightening me on that. That was kind of awesome. Y'all heard that? Twerking is magic. And if y'all can't handle it, then I don't know what to tell you.
So like another thing that like I kind of also want to talk about too, right? Like kind of going back to like the whole like sex trafficking thing and whatnot.
Yeah.
I ever like kind of like wonder like how like when it comes to like certain laws in other countries, right? They say that like oh yeah, like this country, like X country is like violent against women, you know. But like in a way, like the same thing kind of happens here. Like
absolutely.
For example, I didn't even know that like you know child marriages or arranged marriages was actually even like a thing here.
Oh yeah.
Like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I know in some states, as long as you have the minors parental consent, that can be a thing. You can go around the actual consent laws, which is or age, which will vary state to state. And I don't know if there's like a part where okay, that's too young because that seems like a gray area even. I know every place has this is the age of consent or whatever, and then I don't know that it's mentioned in detail everywhere from what age to what age, like where it starts that a child can be married off with their natural parents or caretakers' permission.
Yeah. No, because like I was actually like
Matthew.
I'm pretty sure like you saw like, the same case like with like the person in Florida. Like,
it's always Florida. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay.
So, like, back in the 1970s, right? Where this woman, she was pregnated by like this church deacon, right? And just to like, you know, keep the shame from off of her, right? Her mother decided to like let this 10-year-old marry this 21-year-old deacon.
Disgusting.
And like, eventually they actually like did like get rid of like child like marriages and all that. But to me, it's just like mind boggling how like stuff like that was like happening right here in America, and we always like talk about how progressive this country is.
Well, and that's a really good point too, because it's in like, why is the age of consent so varying from state to state? Like, why does this state think that women are mature to not that we're not mature? I want to say that we're old enough to not be victimized. I mean, there's like the whole Madonna horror complex. So if the guys that want to get it, you're a prude and that's bad and they won't like you. And then if you do give it up, or even if it's taken from you in a way which your permission was not granted, you're labeled another way. So I think female sexuality is so powerful and intimidating to men that it just has to be oppressed in some type of way. And then in some places, some mentalities, men just believe they're entitled to it. It's crazy how girls will not be sure entirely what is consent, what is not consent. That there's all this gray area in which something can happen. A girl can have a horrible experience, and like there can be a phenomenon where you're like frozen, like you're just in shock, you're in fear, and the guy or girl, whatever I'm saying, this doesn't need to be gender related, but is not picking up on the cues that you're scared. You don't say yes, you don't say no. You could argue, what is that? I mean, I don't know. I think you should always ask permission as if you're hooking up with somebody, as things are being taken up a notch. If you're as you come to the next base, if you will, I feel like you need to check in. Hey, are we okay? Are you having a good time? Are you comfortable? Since girls, we don't know what to do sometimes. Like, we could just be frozen and be like, oh my God, is this happening? And just be in absolute shock. And sometimes when that happens, your brain just shuts down to protect you from that trauma. So you want to say stop, no, but you actually can't. Does that make sense? I think we got a comment here. Oh, send it again, honey. I did not mean to X that off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it was that like Elijah kid. It may have been. I'm not really sure.
Oh, okay. Elijah, honey, this conversation I don't know that you want to hear about, but if you had something to add, go ahead. I feel like earmuffs. If something horrible is happening to you, Eliza, tell someone that you trust, because I don't know why you'd find this conversation interesting. Yeah. And hopefully you just tuned in and you're saying hi and you haven't been, oh, gosh. I had a really, really dark discussion with someone on here like a couple nights ago, and we were just kind of discussing her childhood trauma, and it was so hard to listen to. And there were so many instances in which she just wasn't sure or was entirely gaslit. And basically, I spent the stories that she wanted to share. I was just validating that it doesn't matter if she was able to stop it or not. As a child, like, that's not really your job. And I think she really just needed that validation. And there was like 30 people watching, which it's kind of a lot for this app right now. I know like the numbers are getting bigger every day, but at the time that was like a lot. Like nobody else was like streaming at the time or podcasting. And I'm like, girl, we have a lot of people in here right now because this probably happened to them too. And people are scared to talk about it. They're embarrassed to talk about it. So what you're doing is really brave and important as in regards to the ability for people to come forward and be okay with coming forward and not feel that it's, you know what I mean? Like, I thought it was really awesome that she did that, but it was just amazing that so many people were just creeping on that chat and that stream, and the only reason I can think of is because they were relating in a kind of way. You know?
I mean, like, no, I feel that too, because, like, I think there's actually more, like, women on this app than, like, men.
Possibly.
I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen to men too, but that stuff mainly happens to women, so in a way it's, like, they can relate, But I know, like, with me, like, when it comes to stuff like that, like, besides, like, like, even though I'm, like, giving out facts and whatnot right now about it, like, I try to, like, zone it out, because, like, then, like, I'm gonna, like, get re-traumatized on mine. Like,
yes.
Like,
oh, honey, I am in no way wanting you to divulge any of that. And if you took it that way, I apologize. This girl literally had to tell somebody And I was just happy I was able to do that for her. It sounded like she just needed to go there because I was trying to talk about like completely senseless stuff and the conversation kept going there. And I said, look, if this is painful for you, I don't want you to talk about anything that you're not ready to talk about. If you want, I will delete this podcast at the end of it. And she's like, no, I'm going to get this out. And I'm like, good for you. I'm here to listen. Whatever you want to share, please do. Don't feel the need or pressured to offer any information. This is, a safe space. So, and yeah, I don't want you to go, if I'm asking you questions that are out of bounds, please redirect me. Don't feel that I will be offended. This is a touchy topic, so it's like we don't even know where the boundaries are within our own comfort levels. So thank you for what you have shared, and don't feel obligated to share anything that you don't want to.
Yeah, but the one that we can actually do though, like when it comes to the topic of sexual assault and whatnot, is that like a lot of people, especially like young people, don't know that they've been sexually assaulted or what they did was sexual assault. Hence why you hear so many men talking about how they've been falsely accused.
Right, because they don't understand the parameters of a consent or not. Yeah, exactly. I love where you're going with this. I'm gonna mute myself.
Like for example, with coerced, what's it called? With coercion, right?
Oh, yep. That's how I pretty much had everything happen for the first time. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
So
Horrible.
I mean, I'm not really sure about you, but would you consider what happened to you assault or manipulation or what?
When it comes to a lot of my earlier experiences, 100%. I definitely had issues to where I just wanted the companionship and attention. I wasn't really given a lot of illustrations, and I wasn't given examples for whatever reason. Like, hey, this is a good guy. This is a bad guy. All guys were sworn off, which that's definitely terrible advice. You can't swear off all boys from teenage girls. Hello. But the thing is, I was also ostracized in a way. Like, I kind of grew up in a basic ass town, and I was not basic. I was very loud, eccentric, and had very daring fashion choices. Some were terrible. But I kind of stood out, so people didn't get that, and so by that alone, I kind of felt like not nobody. I had friends, but I felt different, and that definitely affected my esteem. At least I think I had one boy really mess me up in middle school, and that set the tone. Like, okay, I'm not even gonna holler at cute boys because they're gonna fuck you up. So then anyone who came at me and wanted me in that kind of way, I just felt like, well, no one else wants me. That's fucking terrible. And it was always older guys. And there was a 4-year age gap between my first real boyfriend or whatever. And I dumped him. I wasn't even into him. I wasn't attracted to him. I thought he was weird. I dumped him, and then I go back to my little junior high buddy, and he was terrible actually. And yeah, it's just I feel like all my experiences then, especially, maybe except with an exception of one, that's bad, were completely pressured, coerced, or just worse. Okay, for example, the virginity situation. I don't care. I'll be on it. Okay, so I was going to be a sophomore going into high school. He was a freshman going into college. That I had to prove my love to him because girls were just going to be throwing mad fucking wop at him, and he was just going to be powerless. And he basically told me that it's very much implied that if I didn't give it up, he was going to get it elsewhere, and he also took it when we were saying manipulation or coercion. It was both in this instance because he said you got to prove your love to me. That was horrible. So of course it went down. It was bad. Actually, all of the experiences with him were bad. I really didn't want to do it, but my esteem was so trash that I went for it.
I felt that.
Yeah.
I felt that way, what we talked about last night about assault, right?
Yeah.
I felt that way after what happened to me too. So in a way, it's the men that I came across, right? It's I knew that I did not want them, and I knew that what's it called? I just didn't like them, right? just like let that happen.
Yeah, because the feeling of someone desires you. Yes, exactly. And when you say let happen, I'm hearing hesitation. It's almost like you're blaming yourself, and I personally don't like that. I feel like there's all this stuff ingrained in our heads and esteem, that we shouldn't feel that we owe anyone anything or that we're obligated in any kind of way. I really do think that there's a lot of damage around women's sexuality and women's purity, that it's just very confusing as girls, and it has a huge, profound effect on our early experiences and how we respond to them or actively engage. I really think if there was a part of you that really didn't want to do it, but felt like you had like that whatever that person was giving you would go away if you didn't, that to me is not real consent. You know?
Yeah. So, like, with that part,
Nah, not even true, bro. Love. I did not. I did not. Mm-mm.
You deserved this, you know?
Right. That's
And,
right.
and like, you know, coming from, like, a background, like, similar, like, to yours, right? Like, again, I was a black girl growing up in this small white town, you know? So I'm already the odd one out for being black, right? But, you know, because of my fashion choices and whatnot, like, natural hair wasn't a thing back when I was in high school. Like, it didn't really become a thing until, like, what, my freshman year of college, I believe.
Okay.
So, like, I had, like, this afro and whatnot, and even, like, the black girls hated me for that, you know?
Oh,
So,
I'm
in a
sorry
way,
for
like,
that.
because of that, like, I did have, like, you know, self-esteem issues
Yeah.
with that, you know?
And you felt less
But-
beautiful or less desired. Exactly. So when we're pointed out, or not when I'm obviously I cannot relate as a black woman, but as someone who was different and felt not pretty enough for some reason, that lowered my esteem, which lowered my standards, which is how I can relate to you on that level. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off in any kind of way. But yeah, that is like, it's, ugh. I hate what, I'm so sorry. I'm really feeling for you. That's what's happening. I'm going to mute myself so you can keep talking. I don't mean to interrupt you. That's hella rude. But sometimes, like, we're just on the same page, and I'm just so excited to validate that. But I really need to just let you talk, honestly.
No, it's okay. Like, continue talking because I actually like hearing your voice and like you know your opinions and whatnot. You know, and I like relating to you too. So
Thank you. Thank you. All right, because I don't want you to think I'm trying to talk over you or I'm listening for an opportunity to talk. Just sometimes, like, we're on the same vibe, and I just wish more minds thought that way. But I apologize for that. It's coming from a place of, yeah, girl, me too. Like, fuck yeah, fuck that bullshit. But yeah, I do want to let you continue, and I'm going to mute myself. So it's that I have to actually think about Tracy. Is it worth interrupting her? We do have a comment. Let's see what's up.
Tracy, oh my god, I'll fucking bend you over and doggy style your fucking guts, girl.
That was very uniquely timed. Thank you for the offer. I'll think about it. I'm probably going to say maybe no for now.
that's a man. That's a man like overestimating his value.
A little bit, yeah. And I mean, I don't want to knock your confidence, dude. Like, that's what's up. But I hope you're just trolling. I mean, we're literally talking about abuse and consent. That dude had to be trolling. I mean, that was clearly out of pocket and illy timed. And I mean, that's why I really wish there was a preview for these comments. Like, they need to have that set up like TTS where they gotta pay to do that shit. You know what I mean? Like they do with other like live streaming platforms. That kind of thing has been monetized. But yeah. What if I can't bend over? What if no? Just kidding. That was terrible. And you know, these kind of experience. I don't know about you, but I've had like bouts of being completely asexual, having no interest in it because I had almost no association of it feeling good. It was just creepy and obligatory, more than something I actually wanted to do.
Yeah.
Thank you for the TTS, by the way.
Because it's like with sex right now, right? Like, in a way, like people like make it like seem fun, right? But like now, right? Like it's just like not fun anymore, you know? So to me, it's just like I don't know, something where like the dude kind of just like finishes and then like he leaves now, you know?
Oh, I love that dick and donuts.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I think we're just having so much bad sex that like we just think like that's it. Or maybe even knowing how to communicate what we want, we don't know how to, or we don't feel that it matters. Like it's really weird, like what's oppressing us from exploring that and vocalizing that. Um, and then I don't know. I just feel like okay. I'll tell you one thing. I don't know that this applies to you. I know guys also have their anxieties too. Like, say this is a situation where everyone's on board. There's no weirdness going on. Everyone's down for this to go down. And say the guy's really excited and he's it doesn't last very long. I personally take that as a compliment. I'm like, damn, I'm looking so good. He couldn't help it. Pull out game week. I think it's adorable. I never make fun of them. I'm like, yo, we could try again in a little bit. Like, that's okay. Like, that's like a weird ego stroke for me. I don't know. It just letting all the guys know out there not to be so subconscious about it, because as long as you don't piss me off between the time of that happening and maybe round two, we're good. I'll be about round two. Like, if you're that attracted to me that you're super excited, we'll get it out of your system and then maybe, we could give it a go again. But if you happen to piss me off afterwards because you're insecure and I didn't do anything to feel that insecurity, I'm not going to be, like, taking that, like, loving it. I'm going to just be like, okay, I'm going to go home now. So.
So, like, I, like, completely understand you with that one. Because, like, I remember, like, this one time where this guy didn't really, like, what's it called? Like, he wasn't good, right? He wasn't good at all. So, I didn't, like, I wanted to tell him, but I'm not sure, like,
You didn't want to hurt his
if it was,
feelings.
like, right? Yeah, you didn't want to hurt his feelings, right? So, like, in a way, I think I did something worse, which was ghost him.
Thank you, Deadly Rush.
So, yeah.
Okay, I feel that too. Now, I also think that sometimes people are trainable, but sometimes they're not. Like, if literally every physical sensation you felt with them, like starting minor, like if they just touched you and your skin crawled, if they kissed you, if all those things were just feeling no chemistry, yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to bring it up. I sometimes will chalk it up to nerves if it's like a first time. The second time, if there's other things about this person's personality that make it worth my time to invest in additionally with this person, then I maybe will try to train them. I also believe that the phenomenon of stigmatization can make mediocre sex seem amazing because we have feelings for somebody. I think there's a lot of things at play. But if somebody's just absolutely terrible, yeah, that's an awkward one. I do recommend like training sessions with guys. Just be like, literally, I'm gonna help you out. Like, I'm gonna tell you everything you need to do to, make me have a good time, and see if they're actually willing to do that and take note of it and implement those things at another time. If they're not willing to take that time and make note of it, like if they're selfish in bed, like that's the worst too. There's really not much hope for that. I don't know. So you ghosted him. Did he ever try to contact you again? Like, did you have to block him? Like, was it a complete ghost, or did you haunt after the fact?
No, I mean, like, what happened was that, like, he did, like, call back. Like, he did, like, call a few times and whatnot and text me and whatnot. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I did respond one time saying, like, oh, like, I can't, like, make it or whatever. Like, give him, like,
okay,
some more excuse.
So you just didn't have it in you, because you didn't want to hurt his feelings, right? You weren't just, oh, I found someone new. You just didn't want to actually upset him.
Yeah.
And that's a super awkward conversation to have. Okay, go on.
So when it came to that, like, I was just, so, like, what happened was that, like, I did end up haunting him, but, like, that was, like, what's it called, this time during quarantine, though, because one time that, like, happened, like, what's it called, a little bit before 2020, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there was, like, this one time where I was, like, this summer, where I was, like, thinking about him, and I was just, like,
Aww.
I wonder, like, if he moved on. I wonder if he moved on, right?
Yeah.
And then I looked, and, like, then I looked him up and whatnot, and, like, he did, so I was okay with it.
And you know what's interesting, too? This whole, like, cabin fever phenomenon that a lot of us, to a degree, are experiencing has really made us make, like, rash decisions. People are thinking, oh, I'm so lonely. Do I hit up this? Like, loneliness can make for terrible decisions. Now, I'm not saying you considering giving him a second chance was a terrible decision. I'm just saying other people are like hitting up F buddies in the past that they did not have a good time with out of loneliness and again having a bad time. I did read an article saying that women were having more sex. Well, people were just having more sex in general due to more time on their hands, but women were infinitely having worse and just terrible sex period in the pandemic. And again, it's like, I guess it's just super okay because like that's so weird. I wish we could change the mentality of feeling like it's a problem or it's annoying or too much trouble or even too much shame to like break it down for a guy like what we need. I don't know. I think it should just be fun for everybody. And maybe if that happens to you again, which I hope not. I hope it just every time for you from here on out is just bomb.com. But if it's not, maybe before he, like, instead of enduring terrible or mediocre sex, like maybe stop him as it's getting terrible and say, look, try it this way. And that way you're not telling him he's bad. You're just redirecting. And sometimes with redirection, it's like, it's covert training. And like again, if they veer off, course correct again. I personally noticed like if you indicate to a guy that it's great, they will change up everything that they're doing about it. So like, even though you want to use positive reinforcement, I've just this is just kind of irony to me. Like anytime I've been like, okay, yes, you're continue that exactly, specifically, precisely that. Anytime I've indicated that something might happen for me, they change it up. So I feel like I'll validate you when we're done, and maybe along the way, if I have to course correct, I'll do. But that's kind of what I've done. Now, I'm not saying I haven't just sat there and taken terrible, unspeakable, because I have. And it's taken me a lot to get to a place where I could actually explain to people. And the worst nightmare, okay, everyone who's hooked up with me, get in the same room and, discuss their experiences. I would die. But they would all have different type of experiences with me because I may be comfortable enough to do one thing with one individual, and that is a hell no for the next. Like, I bet if they all got together in a room and I was dying in mortification, that they like it would be complete. It would almost be like they were describing a completely different girl, because I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, that makes
okay.
complete sense because it was like somewhat awkward in a way.
Oh God. Oh, peace and love. There's a contest going on. 10 reps.
All the people that you've had sex with, just being in the same room and
I
whatnot.
die.
Right. So yeah, to me, I just I can't imagine,
Well, I mean, I will do everything in my power so that never happens. But my point of demonstrating that horrific idea was just the fact that, they would all have different experiences to describe with me because those were different phases in my life. Those were different levels of comfort and trust. And those were, times where maybe I was like, okay, whatever. So, yeah, but I really think that as women, we are doing ourselves a disservice okay, sorry, I just had a comment distract me. Okay, we are doing ourselves a disservice by continuing to idly and silently allow terrible experiences in that way. I mean, oh God, I could just imagine, what if, do you know that there's girls who never, okay, I don't want to be vulgar, but orgasm, their entire lives?
Yes, I know that.
And then it's ever. What? So, ew. And that, yeah, I know it is kind of awkward, but I mean, it is pretty much 9 out of 10 times guaranteed that the guy is gonna, have his deal come to fruition, completion. But girls, well, probably not. Is it fair to say probably not? I don't know.
No, it's actually kind of funny too because this is how I do this one guy was either just got his experiences through porn.
Oh God.
Or,
oh my God.
Because the thing is that he told me that he knows how to make a woman squirt, right? But yeah, exactly. And the thing is that me and you both know that that's
pee
hard to do.
and it's possibly just peeing, but yeah, definitely. It is a very precise maneuver to do, but it is also, you can do it easily if a girl has a full bladder and has no idea. I don't know. There's all kinds of arguments on that. That is ridiculous. You don't want to come at a girl saying, "Yo, I be making girls do this, do that." Well, how about there's different cheat codes for each fucking girl, huh? Maybe things are positioned differently. Oh God. Okay, tell me the rest of the story. I'm sorry. Oh God,
But the thing
cringe.
is, right, it's not like, he said that he doesn't eat pussy,
Of course.
you know? So,
Now, is that because he's above that and he just doesn't do that? And now, let me guess. He insisted on what he would not do, right? Like he wanted oral, right? But he would not give it. Now, I think that's BS.
No, it's like going back to like what you said about like selfishness, right?
Yeah, thank
Like,
you.
Looking back at it, he was like very selfish, you know?
Yeah.
So the fact that like, you know, he couldn't do that and whatnot, like it just like made like sex like uncomfortable with him. So
I believe it.
yeah.
Like an obligation or here we go, gotta fold the laundry. You know, like it sounds like you didn't look forward to that at all. That's horrible. I'm sorry that you have to hear that. And like, if there's any guys listening, to us, it's not like, you're not bragging or you're not impressing us by saying, oh, I can make a girl do this and this and this. Every girl is unique in what their needs are and where things are positioned. And to think that you've mastered one girl, it's like you beat one game and you claim you're the best gamer in the world. I'm not going to believe you. You know, like, ew. Just stop. And then porn is shot to visually appease you guys. What is in pornographic material, more or less, is not actually what women want, because we are wired differently, number one. It is just shot to be visually stimulating and exciting for you guys. It does not translate to what to do to us, especially if you haven't discussed it with us. If you just, like, go ahead, assume that something's cool, no. I've had someone lick their hand and just slap down there, like, slap it. And I'm like, what?
No.
Yeah, no. I bet you if I didn't get up and leave immediately, if I licked my hand and slapped that, I don't think he would have liked it at all. Like, at all. Like, how is that sexy? Like, that is a total vibe, mood killer, a dryer, if you will. That is the opposite of WAP. That is DOP. Or that's DAP. Yeah, that's DAP. Mm-hmm.
Okay, but let me tell you, right, like, just to, like, the dudes out there, like, when it comes, like, there's, like, this porn star named Small Hands, and he even says that, like, you know, when it comes to porn, like, you have to know that, like, all of this is just acting.
Thank
like, you. Know,
you.
you see, like, even though you, like, see, like, this girl, and, like, she seems to be getting off and whatnot, like, she's probably just, like, faking it.
Yes,
You know,
very
like,
much.
just doing it for the scene. And then, too, if she's, like, squirting, like, they actually put fluids up into
Yes,
like, the woman's belly.
it's like special effects for that. To make it,
Effects.
yeah, to make it more just extreme. And porn has to keep, to stay fresh and relevant, they keep coming up with new things. And I also feel that people's taste is refining and becoming desensitized, because pretty much anything they could imagine, they can find sexualized in an adult video. So when you have access to things that you'd never think could happen or you'd see, I think after multiple visuals of it, you're like, okay, we got to up this a little bit. Like, I want to change it up. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with adult videos or adult actresses. Just understand that that's not what actually happens that girls necessarily want. Like, it is like, and the reason it's even legal, the argument made in court was that it was art. Is that it was art and that it was performing. I don't recall that they said educational, but the argument that legalized it, as repulsed as people were that this was becoming a thing, was the fact that it could be argued that it is an art form. And if you consider the fact that the girls are totally not into it in reality, and that they're doing all this to just do something visually appeasing to a certain demographic, yes, and by that definition, that would be artful. And again, art is subjective, right? So although you may not say yes, that and a Picasso are one and the same, or whatever. Yeah, I kind of lost where I was going, but I think I kind of wrapped that whole thing. Go ahead, your take on that.
No, like I understand like what you were trying to say though. That's basically it. But what I want to kind of like understand, right? Because like I just thought about this. So Bella's Thorne, right?
Oh yes.
Like, you've heard about her, right?
And her OnlyFans. Yeah.
And her OnlyFans. So like a lot of like sex workers are actually like against what she's doing because they say that like she's trying to like take from them and
because that is rapey.
Because the pictures that she actually posted on OnlyFans, like it was like I think she got like what like $1 million.
Yeah. Yes. I just read about there's now a change in policy due to because people are saying that it's kind of like they were misled, they were ripped off. Now I know there's also a fitness OnlyFans. I have not personally seen the photo. I may try to like Google it right now for context. From what I understand, they're saying it's not really nude. There's a type of posing or photography of like figure modeling or glamour type style where it's called implied, where you don't have clothes on, but you're strategically covering things, parts with your hands or certain objects, or even there could be a shadow going through your legs, or you could be turned a certain way, and you can completely kind of obscure the really graphic parts, but you could show enough shape, if that makes sense. I'm wondering if what she had was implied photos, and that's why people are so upset. And yeah, so what sucks for the people who do have OnlyFans is they feel like, well, she has this huge fan base that I can't compete with. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it works. Playboy, for example, yes, they would have kind of unknown centerfolds that had to look a very strict cookie cutter type way, or they had celebrities that people just wanted to see their boobs because of who they were. And that's unfortunately just kind of how that works. I get it, but I feel like the people who are, oh my god, I have to see her naked, are not necessarily even cutting into the fan base. They're not taking from other girls. They literally wanted to see her naked specifically, in my opinion. You know, like it didn't even surprise me or make me think, oh, like no. It's because of the type of like she wasn't even part of the iPhone gate, wherever they were hacking celebrity iClouds and stuff, and they were finding their private nudes. I don't believe. I'm not 100% sure. Was she on a victim of that? Am I tripping? Okay. I just know that she had a fan base that wanted to see that.
No, like what actually happened with her, right, was that this boy got her nude, like some hacker, right? I won't say
okay,
but somebody got her nude, right? And they said if you don't like comply to what I do.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so she leaked it herself.
She leaked it herself.
That's right. Okay. All right. Now that was interesting because that was a power move that disarmed the threat of that person by her doing that, and this was entirely separate to her OnlyFans, correct?
Yeah.
I believe so. Okay, so now we got that straight. I'm going to Google for my own personal interest. What the heck? This OnlyFans stuff people are up in arms about. I understand it is a single photo.
No, not just like a photo or anything like that. She's also, because of this, right, she said it was like an experiment for her next like a film or documentary about like human trafficking and sex working. So a lot of people are saying that like she's not gonna like take like she's taking it from her perspective as like a 24-hour, one a day sex worker, right?
Right.
Not like the ones that like go through it,
Right.
Like she was like a sex worker for a day, and she wants to make a film. Likewise, when it comes to, I mean, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but likewise, like you have like these girls who are in, like these girls and probably men too, who are in the industry for years, and their voices are still not heard.
Yes. Now, what I think is I'm going to do something bold here by saying she's almost appropriating the experience of sex workers because she wasn't getting with customers at a strip club. She wasn't getting with, I guess, well, depending on the level you do it, Johns or sugar daddies. Reading a couple creepy DMs on your OnlyFans you cannot compare that to being touched or lurked at or objectified by people if you had any other way or any other say would rather not. I kind of I don't know if like I'm speaking on myself. I'm not saying this how you think, but I kind of feel like she was dismissing and kind of appropriating the actual pain that girls who do that day in and day out, whether by choice, and again by choice, I feel like that is even more complicated than people think because you don't just get into that. Like most likely they were trafficked, and then if they got away, did it independently. Most likely something happened somewhere along the way in which they're like, "Fuck it, I may as well just capitalize on this because I'm out of body and numb and just completely disassociating with anything sexual. So since it has no meaning for me because that may have been robbed, for example, like okay, let's just sell it. Fuck it." You know?
No, like that's the thing too, because like a lot of people, like a lot of the times, right? And this is what I'm kind of worried about, right? Because I mean, like, don't get me wrong, right? I do support sex workers and all that, but I feel as though like a lot of the times like we're actually hearing like the voices of those that actually kind of glamorize sex work, and not the many that actually suffer from it, right?
Right. And that
So,
may
for
be a
example,
coping
right?
mechanism or a way to, I don't know if that is like a coping mechanism narrative or if it's a way to celebrate, like you said, fertility, beauty, things of that nature. Like you could argue it in so many different ways because there's all these different mentalities of modesty. And it's just freaking crazy. And I just wish women we could make those decisions for ourselves and not saying that you are hating on other girls. You were going somewhere, and I think I'm gonna stop. I don't know why I even interrupted you. I'm gonna mute myself. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong, right? Like, for example, right? Like, I remember like reading this article about like this one woman, right, who was trying to like glamorize the whole sex work industry. Like, she was like from like a middle class family, right? So in a way, she didn't really need to do sex work. And however, like she got into it because she liked it, right? And people like took her voice as like
Okay. Okay.
as
As a
like,
representation
like the voice of like
of
sex
all.
workers.
Okay. Now I wonder was she on record about any type of abuse in that kind of way as a child?
I don't think she was.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering because just the statistics and the cliches, they are kind of there for a reason. I wonder. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there are girls who wait to turn 18 to get into porn at 18 that look very young and make a ton of money at it. But you always hear later on when they're done with it or whatever, like what led up to their ability to make that decision. I'm not saying women's sexuality can't be capitalized on in a way that they're in control, but it is so often more than not exploitation and a means to an end in a survival with no other options in immediate sight. That it's just I don't know. I think the whole thing is complicated. I am not hating on sex workers. I'm not hating on do what you got to do. I think it might be better off legal. I think it would shut down a lot of the trafficking happening and remove the incentive from people doing the trafficking. And I also wish that they wouldn't punish the girls as so much as the people pimping them out, if you will, or the madams, whatever the fuck you want to call that. That I feel is more of a crime than you know what I mean? Kind of.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Hold on for a minute.
Yeah, no, of course, honey.
Okay, so I'm sorry. What were you saying?
What was it? No, just kidding. We have a lot of comments. I'm kind of scared. I feel like they're going to be clowning trolley shit, but let's just play them so people don't think we're not hearing them. And remember, if something's like out of pocket, we can exit immediately.
What about around 76 or 16? How long y'all can last in bed?
Okay.
So the next one.
Yeah.
Charlie and Tracy, y'all trying to have a threesome, baby?
Shut
Okay,
that.
so oh my.
You know that Hitler's mother was actually talked into abortion, but the doctor was like, no, you shouldn't do that. And I'm pretty sure the doctor's asshole in the situation, not Hitler. But yeah.
I would love to know the source of that. I'm not like saying, "Oh, you're wrong." I'm not like, "Ugh." But that's actually very fascinating. If you could state roughly where you heard that information, I would be actually very curious to read more of that contextually. Let's see this last one.
Yo, Charlie, yo, Tracy, what's up? So I was one of the people who subscribed to Bella Thorne's OnlyFans. Yeah, for sure, I wanted to see her nude. I've been following her for a while. I have her book and stuff like that. And one time in West Hollywood, we smoked out. We just chilled out. It wasn't only us; it was a large group of people. But anyways, she's really cool to talk to. She's a hard worker, a hustler, and everything. However, I also feel like that was kind of like a misleading thing. There are no rules that says that OnlyFans is for nude shit. Like there are no rules about it. There's none. However, it's kind of like a well-known thing that's exactly why we're going there. We're not gonna fucking drop, 20 times 12 or whatever, however you guys pay it. Some people pay 6 months or a year in advance. Just to see you in the same fucking shit that they can see on Instagram. So you gotta be offering another incentive for that platform. At least in my opinion, of course.
Or you have to have a big enough following in which they support you and whatever level of sexuality you're willing to expose. Now, I'm so glad that you piped up right now because I want to know if you said she was cool to talk to. Did she have a live stream in which she addressed everybody, or did you get personal DMs? If you're trying to leak them, like we want to know the tea. I would imagine that her DMs would be absolutely insane, and she would make those monetize. Like I don't think there's any way she would just be like, "I love these," like maybe a couple. And I bet the people whose comments she did read tipped a lot to just bring them to the top. And she's like, okay, what does this thirsty ass person have to say? And then those comments, because there's no way she could have read them all, those comments, I want to say she probably decided that's what it was like to be a sex worker. And I doubt any of them were like, you dirty whore, I make the choices, you're nothing without me. I doubt it was the actual like control dynamic experienced by a lot of women who work in the industry. I'm sure it was just all fluffing her ass or graphic how much they appreciated it. I don't think that that's fair. I'm not saying she's not a hustler. I'm not saying she's not a hard worker. I'm not saying that she shouldn't be allowed to do OnlyFans. But I think she completely appropriated the experience. Like imagine, what DMs do you think she read? It's the ones that were worth her time. And I really think that they were like gassing her up or just kind of gross. Like, I really doubt anyone would pay money to be like, you fucking this and that and demean her. Like, that makes no sense. I don't know.
To me, like, again, like what you
What
said,
up, the
right?
plug?
Like, I do feel so.
Hi, Sheldon.
Yeah, she was just taking away from like actual sex workers that really did need it, because I mean, like regardless of if she is like a hard worker or whatnot, she like took away from the woman who really needed it,
I hear that.
Remember that, like,
Yeah.
Like, you have to remember too, right? That like, when it comes to like camming and all that, like I'm not saying that it's like the safest way to do this, but at the same time, it's like a lot better than like
Right. Yeah, you're not alone in a room with somebody and just trying to watch a clock and, hope for the best. Yeah, you have the screen in between you, but there's even cases of people stalking those women too. And like you're being told what to do, and then you have to read it within the chats. I haven't done that kind of stuff, but I do have a lot of girlfriends that do. I love them, and they tell me it hit the way it impacts them emotionally. Having to read it like sticks in their mind twice. Their mind reads it, but then seeing the words, it's almost like hearing it twice, and it has more of an influence in their subconscious because their brain is processing two ways: what that sentence means and those words. And one of my girlfriends tells me about falling asleep, and she'll just be like haunted by text, certain words standing out that make her feel like icky. And, she's like, oh, I had to do all that to make this much money. Or maybe some girls get lucky and do really well in the beginning. They find someone who's a big fan of them, and then it falls off. They get bored of it. And then they're like, oh my, it's really misleading how consistent I want to say the money is for some of these girls. And I wonder, the people who that subscribe to Bella Thorne's, I do think that there's a lot of them that only wanted to see her naked and may not even do OnlyFans in any other way. But I also appreciate your argument that, whatever. But the problem is the other girls who may be more beautiful, more interesting, they're just not known. They're just not known. And if she wants to make it right to all these, or not make it right, but if she wants to get in good faith with all these upset OnlyFans content creators, she should just be like, start shouting them out. Just start giving shouts, start plugging other girls, and then they will be less upset with you. I mean, now how she would select who's worthy of that or whatever, who's like that, I can't even get into how that process would work. But if she maybe like gave some, some like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like that might be cool. Yeah. So I think it was $200 no matter what, right? Like there was no no payment option. It was just $200. So let's do the math on this. So $200. Let's see. We divide it by a million. So 1 million. 1 million. Yes. Okay. So there's a million divided by 200. All right. So according to the math, she had 5,000 people simp on her. 5,000 who were like, "I got that 200." Boom. It seems like a smaller number when you do the math. I had to use my calculator. I didn't know it off top at all. But I'm like, gee, how many people? It seems less significant when you divide it up like that. Like I'm going to say, it's record, like how fast she accumulated it. Like I'm not knocking her success or whatever. But it's like, okay, all right. So then, like, I don't know. I feel like, and I also feel like when girls have to compete with what they're willing to do, what they're not willing to do, and the prices, I feel like that's another thing too. Like that's got to be like an ego, like blow. You know what I mean? I have a very, very tame, like artistic Playboy style, like not penthouse, nothing spread, no insertion type videos or anything like that. And I'm not judging those who do. I'm just saying my what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do are very hard set lines. I have a premium Snap and an OnlyFans. It's the same content, just your choice of platforms. And I struggle because I'm not willing to do what some other girls are doing for way less money than me. Now, there is the whole concept that it adds up quicker for them, so they do end up making significantly more. But I'm just firm on, I think my prices are fair. I do have like a COVID special, whatever. But I don't want to feel like I have to do more and like sell my soul in a way that just, I don't know. And again, I'm not knocking, I'm empowering women. But I compete with girls who do everything, Craziness.
Honestly, I actually never knew this one because, like, when it comes to like, porn stars, right? Like, they say they actually
They don't have to do it all.
Camming or OnlyFans or Snapchat better, simply because like they actually like have like easier way to like what's it called, to do what they want to do and not do what they want to do, like you said. So I always just thought that it might have been like a little bit safer for that reason.
No, it's pretty much the same thing. Peace, love, comfort.
I never knew about the competition of OnlyFans,
Right. So okay. Well, here's the first thing when it comes to getting subscribers. You're competing with the fact that if someone just wants videos and pictures, they literally have an abundance. It's impossible to view how much content in the world by now exists for free, I want to say, of adult media, that asking people to pay, and this is absolutely a slap in the face, by the way, that asking people to pay by their understanding and their thought pattern, not what's right in a trade of services, whatever. They cannot justify it because so much of it is available for free. I think that also has a subconscious effect on women and their value. I like how they choose to monetize their value in a way that they can sell it, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's a lot of I'll get a lot of DMs just trying to mess with me that I wish I could have some type of algorithm that prioritized possible inquiries versus people just being dicks. And a lot of times people will literally just want to get in DM arguments with me about the fact that they don't have to pay to see stuff and why they should have to pay to see mine. I'm like, well, great. So if you want to find my leaks, I invite you to Google them all day. I do my best to take them down, but there's still a few out there. So you have that option, or you can have the new content offered on a fairly regular basis. But yeah, there's a lot of people who just will not pay for that. They refuse. So I don't know. All right, let's. Oh, I'm scared to play these messages right here.
How much is your subscription?
Oh, that's what's up. Thank you. I'm doing a $19 per month COVID special. Yeah, and honestly, the reason I'm doing that price is because I'm like, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people are running out of that stimulus money. And so I just thought it was, and it also capitalized on the COVID-19 number. And I'm not trying to be cute with that. It seemed like a good marketing decision to do. And yeah, so that's the deal with that. If you want to hit my Snap, TMB official OFFICIAL, we can talk more in detail there. I do not know the entire age demographic of viewers, listeners right now, so I don't want to get too much into detail, but we can discuss it there.
They're more in control of their content than when you do actual porn for another place.
Thank you. Yes, because you decide the final edit. I don't like that picture. Girl, don't post that picture. There have been so many times I've done sets where I just wasn't feeling it. And I figure if I'm going to be out there potentially with, especially OnlyFans, it's not like it goes away like Snapchat. OnlyFans is almost like it's forever. So ever since I've implemented the OnlyFans into the whole mix as another option for platform, I've been even more perfectionist and just discriminating on what goes up there, because I figure I want to look as good as possible in all of those. And I feel like if I'm not looking my best, that's a bad thing, if that makes sense. So yes, you do have control over it. You do own the rights to it. That part is good. You are able to set your own price, but the problem is that sometimes the supply and demand will have you readjusting that just for sales. So I would say if you have a huge following inside, fuck it, I'm gonna make it OnlyFans like Beyonce in that remix or something. She would never do that. Ridiculous. Can't even believe. Okay, anyway, that's a whole other argument. If you had not been done or seen that kind of way before, and you just decided to do it, say you're a huge influencer and you have let's say 100,000 followers, 1 million followers. Yes, if you have that many people about you, you could set your price and that's it, pay it or don't. But if you're lesser known trying to do that, it is so much harder and a way bigger hustle to have people discover you. The marketing part is really hard to figure out because you want to do it in the most efficient way. You don't want to be trying to advertise yourself in a way that's literally not being seen. So there's a lot to figure out with the whole sale process there. All right, we got more comments.
Hey, Bungie, I'd like to talk to you. This is Liz from Alabama. I'd like to talk to you, Bungie. So, when you get the time, talk to me. This is Liz from Alabama. Bungie, talk to me. I'd like to talk to you.
Noted.
What is it normally compared to this COVID crisis?
Okay, good question. So I've had it
Well, you
change.
make a lot of money tonight.
I hope so. It has changed here and there, just depending on the amount of effort and the time. If that makes sense. I always have a lifetime legacy price, which that has gone up and down. It just really depends on supply and demand. I always have I'll capitalize on certain holidays in order to get sales, or I don't really do a lot of the trial stuff anyway, because that I don't know. And so I would say normally it would be up to $50 a month. I don't think I ever charged more than $50 a month, but originally a lifetime, which means as long as I'm still attractive and comfortable enough looking to do this, no matter if Snapchat goes away and I have to put it somewhere else like Patreon or OnlyFans, you will consistently have access as long as I'm making content. That was $250 at one point, and I'm vain, but not in a self way. I'm not as shallow how other people look as I am about myself, and I should say it's because people have made me feel like the way I look is more important than what I think or feel or do, which sucks, but that's kind of how that is. So because of that, I'm like always trying to look my best, and I feel like as long as it's, people still want to see it. If you bought a lifetime or legacy membership, that's what's up. So yeah, it's never been more than $50 a month, and it'll just kind of wiggle between, on Valentine's Day, I'll do like $14 for that month, just to try it, to give example. I have like special discounts for certain groups, but yeah, no, just hit me up on there. I don't want to sound like we're doing this just to like press my OnlyFans or my Snap. It just kind of came up, and yeah, so the most it's ever been was $50 a month, and I think I dropped that down to like 25 average or whatever. All right, cool.
I never knew that you actually did that though, and this is like our second time talking,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that's cool. I'm guessing like, it's like something that you don't really like, touch upon or whatever.
I mean, it's whatever. Like, it's like, I don't want to like. If it comes up, I'll say, hey, here we go. Like, there's a lot of, I guess, layers to me, and I am more or less an open book. And people don't have to go too far into, like, Google to figure things out anyway. So I would rather, like, control the narrative on what's out there than have people, like, trolling or thinking that they can slut-shame me in that kind of way. Like, because I'll shut it down. I'll be like, well, we all know this already, Now, whether that's a defense mechanism or whatever, that's a whole other argument. But it came up, and so I'm like, okay, I'll mention it because I felt that I could relate as far as like the Bella Thorne competition or that being problematic or her actually changing the terms of services and apologizing to sex workers for that. I meant to read up more on that. I've been, someone's telling me in chat, try $24.99. There's something about that $.99 psychologically that make people go, oh, that's a good deal. So yeah, I have done things like that in the past. 1% discount. Oh my goodness. My voice is going, girl. I'm going to take a break for a little while. We'll play this comment. I love talking to you, by the way, Charlie.
Same here.
Oh, okay. Oh. Oh, thank you so much. That's a good note to end out on. Thank you for your time, Charlie. I'm gonna take a quick break. Oh my, I'm gonna go crazy, like staying on this thing. Like after the first week, I think I'm gonna just. It was a podcast. But when you find something new and you really want to reach a new audience, like just being on it like crazy is the best way to go about it. Like I know, like the whole contest thing, it's a long shot because there's gonna be people coming up on here that have like real heavy clout, and they just gotta have fat numbers watch a single podcast, and that could just destroy me. So I'm having fun. I'm having great conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's what I was like thinking too, though. Like actually, I have like 2 questions before you go.
Yeah, no, of course.
Like, when it comes to that, like like almost like what we said about like Bella Thorne, right? Like these like certified numbers that's like on this app, right? Like, are these like celebrities or like? Cause I know like people said that they gave these apps to like this app to like comedians. Like,
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. Okay, so the deal with that is that they want to have now. If they're like I said, even if you have no clout, but you're on here all the time, and I'm whatever, low, no, whatever, less clout than people, making numbers or having like more views, whatever. They will still notice you if you're on here often, and they like a lot of them are really cool, and that could even open up networking opportunities to have discussions with some of these people. They've cast various personalities because they want there to be like guaranteed entertainment and a diversity of entertainment consistently done in a way that, how do I put it, is like up to a certain standard. And it's not even like that unknowns or lesser knowns are not good. It's just professionals, they know what to do. They know how to keep it going. So, like I said, you can find yourself having collaborative opportunities with these people. And instead of feeling like maybe intimidated or whatever, the biggest thing is that you joined early. So if you're on here enough, like you don't have to be on here crazy like I am, and like I'm just going crazy about all the conversations. Like say you put in 2 hours a day, or even 1 hour a day, and then you can phase it out a little more as the time carries on. But if for the first like 3 to 6 months you're really putting in work, people will know you. People will definitely notice you because the consistency.
Okay. And also, like, my next question, too, right? Like, when it comes to, like, like, OnlyFans and whatnot, like, what I want to know is, like, is it true that, like, you can, like, actually, like, block out some states?
That I don't know about. I do know,
Okay.
I know with, like, camming stuff, you can block out regions. As far, I just drank, like, honey. I'm sorry, I'm gagging. That's been my secret to keep talking. Yeah, I don't know about that being a function for sure. What I would recommend if like you're considering it or you have a friend that's considering it and you don't want to be like found in any kind of way is definitely going with some obscure alter persona. And just know that like blocking one region, if it's not like every single person that said individuals you're afraid of finding, for example, they know people in all places. So should you or someone you know be considering doing something like that, just know that the internet's kind of forever, and you don't have like okay, I could have Snap, I could set my pictures to disappear in 1 second. If someone has another device, they could screenshot it and I wouldn't know. There's so many ways around that. So just know anything that you or a friend posts or maybe thinking of posting, it's not there's so many ways to like hack and you know what I mean, like to rip and leak. Now it doesn't really make sense for the paid members to do that because they're paying for it, so they're kind of doing themselves a disservice. I personally have a couple people who let me know when leaks happen, and occasionally I may just Google myself and find them. Now, sometimes if they chose to leak good photos and I'm like, oh, this could actually help me get sales, I'll leave it. If they leak too much or something that I'm like, oh God, I wish I didn't take that set, I'll make sure I shut it down. I'll just report it as revenge porn.
Okay. All right. Well, that was great talking to you.
Thank you.
I mean, like, I really do love, like, talking with you, particularly because I feel like it's, like, very therapeutic.
Thank you. Aw. Thank you, girl.
Yeah. All right. So,
Yo, hit my socials or whatever, and like, I can give you my cell. Like, a lot of this doesn't always have to be like public, Like, if you ever really need to talk about like some real shit, you seem cool enough. I'll give you my cell. But okay, we'll play 2 more comments. That was I'm choking on the honey again. That was very nice of you to say, Charlie. Thank you.
Tracy, I've been missing you since I've been gone, baby. I've been thinking about that big ass, you know what I'm saying?
My ass is tiny, but I love your imagination.
Hey there, pretty mamas. It's me, Antisocial. I just thought I'd pop in here, give you both a little love, give you a little poop pop on the leaderboard there. I hope you can TikTok you up your way there to the tippity top, and love what you're doing. Have a good day.
Thank you, Antisocial. All right, Charlie, I'm going to dip out for a little bit. Love you, girl. Go to my page, hit me up, and we'll be in touch. All right, honey?
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I'm so losing my voice. Now, this one, we can keep talking and talking and talking. Like, honestly, she has good points. She's studying anyone who's just joining, she's studying communications. She also has interest in like doing paralegal studies and then maybe even eventually becoming a lawyer someday. So she's a very interesting individual who has a lot of goals, and she's also lived a lot. So she and I will just really get into these very in-depth conversations. Other people on this app, not saying that I haven't had very fascinating or meaningful conversations with other people. She and I think every single conversation we've ever had has been at least 2 hours, possibly even more. So, and that's why I told her, like, if talking to me is therapeutic for you, I love it. And you seem like a cool person. Like, I could just give you my cell. You can hit me up whenever. Like, I don't want to exploit people. And that's why I also told her, like, if there's something you just don't want to go there about, you don't have to go there on it. Like, you don't feel pressured. Your experiences are yours to choose or not to choose. If you need to talk about it, to release it, I'm here. if but we don't have to like put it on blast like that if you're not trying to. That's such a good compliment for me, because like I was saying before, if you feel like a lot of attention is based more on your looks than your ideas or your non-look related talents or ability, like it really does kind of mess with your head as far as to what you're good for and capable of, and how good or meaningful of a person you are. And when someone says something like, talking to you is very therapeutic, it helps me, that does give me purpose. It does feel good. So that was really nice of her to say, and I love hearing that kind of stuff. All right, guys, and I'm sorry I've been distracted with that conversation, and this has probably been an incredibly bizarre stream for you guys. I'll tell you what's going on. So, Stereo app is a podcast platform. I'm only going super hard on it because I was on the leaderboard for like 3 days, holding down that #1 spot to get $10,000. I had no clue, and then I'm like, oh my god, what the fuck? How am I winning this? This never happens. So it seems like somewhat tangible, although very exhausting because, like she was saying, like I don't have like a ridiculous amount of clout. I'm very self-aware of that. So my only strategy is just duration. That's the only way I'm going to gain the points the way it's accounted for and possibly place in a number that's like I'm happy with. A lot now they're giving out hundreds of $100 to like a ridiculous amount of people. If you want to go ahead and jump on the app, I don't know, like when does the contest end? Like the 5th or the 6th, and just give it a couple hours, you might just get $100, just guaranteed. So that is kind of cool. And they're doing the $10,000 prize weekly. I don't know for how long though. If you do want to be a content creator for Stereo, if you're a streamer, if you think you're funny, if you're a professional, just go ahead and hit them up. Stereo.com. There is the prompts for that to apply. You could do that. You could also try sending an email to McKenna, McKenna @stereo.com. McKenna, though, do not like overload her. Like she's probably in tears, pulled in a million different directions, like stressed about the launch of this app, which has been going well. But there's a lot of bugs. There's so much she has going on, and I'm sure there's a lot of existing or aspiring talent that needs her help too. I don't know how much help she has personally, or if it's all entirely delegated to her. I don't know that entirely. I should probably find that out. But yeah, so go ahead and go about applying to be a paid content creator for them that way. I would definitely recommend if you have examples. If you don't have examples, what you can do is you can go ahead and make a profile on the app, start having these conversations, and if you happen to have a good, funny one that you think shows, hey, y'all should pay me to do this shit, then go ahead and link yourself when you fill out the application or send that email to McKenna. You can actually do both if you want, but after you submit, leave it alone for a minute. I know persistency is sometimes a thing that gets you somewhere, but understand it just launched. There's issues and communication. Like a lot of content creators have questions that we haven't heard back yet. So you put it out there. If you don't hear back, maybe do a follow-up in like 2 or 3 weeks from now. Don't bombard her. Make her reading your email like be like, oh, I'm glad I found this. You know what I mean? Like there's a balance with persistency and pestering. And you don't want someone to appease you because you're driving them mad. That is not the best way to go about it because they're not in a good mood when they just finally break and say, okay, fine, what do you want? You'd rather than be like, okay, what's this? Oh. You know what I mean? Like the mind state someone's in when they view your content can have a profound effect on their ultimate decision on it. You know, like sometimes other things in our life kind of mess our baseline judgment up a little bit. Oh my God. Can we cut to the Ali promo commercial? Alistair is now promoting the stream. He's a huge fan. He wasn't always a fan. He used to be called Baby Beat Snob because he really nothing impresses him. He's seen it all, and he has very high standards of entertainment required. In the past, he has not endorsed the stream or the podcast, but now he's very much about it. And I have an adorable video edited of him just letting you guys know what you should do if you haven't already. That's so cute. Play it. Okay. You're funny, fam. You. Is it playing it? Or? I'm actually going to take a sanity break, guys, and just not talk, period, and just, because have we been on 3 hours yet? I don't even know how long we've been on. 2 hours, okay. And what was how it was the shutter speed. Okay, go pee.
What did you say? Subscribe. Is it a great channel? Uh-huh. Should more people watch? Uh-huh. Do you subscribe? Subscribe. What do you say? My mommy said. Subscribe. What? What did you say? Subscribe. Is it a great channel? Uh-huh. Should more people watch? Uh-huh. Do you subscribe? Subscribe.
It was the shutter speed. Okay, go pee. I had a fucking horrible day. Like,
It honestly won't do anything. The probably hardest parts of streaming is so hard to like put on a face and entertain people when shit sucks.
Subscribe! 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 What did you say? Subscribe! Is it a great channel? Uh-huh!
It was the shutter speed. Okay, go pee. I had a fucking horrible day. Like, it honestly won't do anything. The probably hardest parts of streaming is so hard to like put on a face and entertain people when shit sucks. This is great.
No picture!
Okay.
Try again. Try again.
What's wrong with my letters?
Try again.
They're not good enough?
No picture.
Okay, so this is not going to work for the logo.
I don't want pictures.
You don't want pictures of it? It's not perfect. I agree. All right. I don't know. These are pretty good.
I don't want no picture.
This is great.
No picture!
Okay.
Try again. Try again.
What's wrong with my letters?
Try again.
They're not good enough?
No picture.
Okay, so this is not going to work for the logo.
I don't want pictures.
You don't want pictures of it? It's not perfect. I agree. All right. It was the shutter speed. Okay, go pee.
it a great channel? Should more people watch? Do you subscribe? How do you say it? My mommy said, subscribe. What? What did you say? Subscribe. Is it a great channel? Should more people watch? Do you subscribe? You subscribe. Subscribe. What did you say? Subscribe. Is it a great channel? Should more people watch? Do you subscribe?
Alright. Yeah. What? It was the day we met, you and me, nothing less. Set the bar for hot sex, the best. Calling me all the time, telling me where it's at. Getting all hot and bothered, making me sweat. Coming so hard, my pussy dripping wet. But from what I recall, we drank so much. Too many hits, went all AWOL. Then it started to fall, fell on my ass and it started to crawl. Got up and walked, we put it to the test. Didn't know where you been, so it started to stress. We can't get together. Can't we be together? I love you. Take me, cause it's now or never. If we can't get together, can't we be together? I love you. Take me, cause it's now or never. It was a fantasy, deep boy, you and me. But damn, I miss the booze and weed and the rendezvous. For the blueberry, yum, I always come so young. Got all dumb, shake my bum, you get a little some, have a lot of hot fun. And that's how it went down, on the couch, on the shower, on the bed, on the ground, knocking shit around. Throwing it back at you like a rebound. If we can't get together, can't we be together? Make me, cause it's now or never.